You did that real well. Hello, I'm Jack Rickard. This is Electric Vehicle Television. I'm here with my compadre and consigliere El Brino Noto. Brain, who was the enormous Negro woman with that thing?
That was Hedley Lamar.
Hedley Lamar.
Yes,
right.
our off-time gafferette, and
I heard you've been looking for a new trophy secretary.
I have.
Well, you can't have my shipping clerk.
And clapper operator.
And clapper operator.
I thought the lights were supposed to go off though, when you clap like that. Yeah, it didn't work. Yeah, no.
Do we have any EV stuff?
We do. We have some. Yeah, we have some.
We've got a new set up here.
It's going to make me dizzy.
I'm starting to get a little woozy
Trying to
too.
get a little sleepy.
A little motion sickness here. This is our Siemens 1PV 5135.
Yeah, it's got a lot of numbers, dashes and things.
A lot of dashes and things. This is our Siemens AC induction motor. 190 pounds. It's nominally 47 kilowatts.
Yeah.
And wound for lower voltages. For the Azure Dynamics eTransit Connect program.
Yes.
And we, in our raid on Livonia, picked up 65. And Siemens assured me that we could never get the rest of them for that price, but a year later they gave them to us for that price.
For that price. They must have still had them, huh?
Yeah, they were stuck with them too. These bankruptcies are. Did you hear that Echo is going bankrupt?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they have a little. They're part of the There Must Be Money in Fleets.
Oh, okay.
And they have a neat little thing that goes behind the transmission, and it's an assist. So it's a real easy upgrade to an existing ICE van or bus or something.
Okay.
But they ran out of money too.
They should have done a thing with a Volkswagen chassis and a RAV4.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you put a Volkswagen chassis behind a RAV4, that works pretty good.
That works pretty good.
Anyway, we've still got 100 of these motors. And I found this turntable that just spins around. So we'll make them watch the motor the whole show.
Okay. Okay.
And we sell those for $34.95, $3,495.
We do.
I need to get rid of some of them. We're going to sell them this week for $2,195.
Wow. Okay. $21.95. Okay. Are we going to give them the entire motor, everything?
We're going to give them the motor.
Okay.
I think it comes with a encoder cable.
Yes, it does.
And but that's the
That's
Siemens
nice. That's a good deal.
1PV. And they're brand new cardboard boxes.
They are.
They've never been opened.
No.
Actually, we opened the top to put the encoder cable in them, but sealed it right back up, original box. And I have one in the VW Thing. They're delightful.
Yeah, it's a nice motor.
They'll, with the Azure Dynamics DMOC 645, they do 221 foot-pounds, 300 newton meters at 400 volts and 300 amps.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's strong.
I've been running them at 335 amps. I still get 135 horsepower on the dyno.
Yeah.
On a car. The thing drives very well, and so I'm pretty comfortable with them. But I've still got 100 of them left.
All right. Well, help us out.
They're not moving very quick. So we'll give them away.
Okay. There you go.
Maybe somebody will do something good with them.
Yeah. Make a nice build.
And then anyway, today's show, it'll spin there in front of us, and we'll have a little wider shot of us. The
we might not make it. We might pass out.
We may throw up. watching this thing go around and around and around and around. Have you got any EV news?
Let's see. We usually start with a little Tesla stuff. This week, the Massachusetts State Supreme Judicial Court ruled that the automotive dealers had lack of any standing to sue Tesla for not being an automobile dealer in the state of Massachusetts. Now, lower court had already ruled, but that kind of puts the seal of approval from the Supreme Court.
I hate to pontificate on legal matters, but they have a basic problem. This sounds like the dealers have Tesla on the run. In the first place, they're whiners. In the second place, they don't really understand the law very well. Most states have passed in the past laws protecting dealers from manufacturers.
Right, from their own manufacturers, yeah.
Now, I don't understand this because, like at McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken, you have company stores.
Sure.
And then you have franchise
Yes.
stores.
Yeah, a lot of times
and
you do.
Nobody's protected from anything. So how all this got started in the first place, I don't
It's
really
kind of
understand.
bizarre, yeah.
But in any event, it's so that General Motors, having in the past put out some franchises, and these people bought them and invested money in them.
Sure.
And then General Motors comes into the state and runs their own outlets, and because they're the manufacturer, they can regulate both the price the dealer has to pay
Right.
and what they sell them to the public,
Sure.
and basically put them out of business, and then kind of have a monopoly on
Right.
selling the cars.
On their distribution channel, sure.
If General Motors came in and did that to one of the dealers in Massachusetts, they would have standing to sue General Motors or to appeal to the state for enforcement
Sure.
on the law.
Right, it's a law, yeah.
Tesla doesn't manufacture anything that any of these dealers sell.
No, nothing at all.
It's like trying to get the state to declare you can't sell peanut butter in Massachusetts if it comes from California. There's actually
yeah.
kind of some problems there with the interstate.
Right, with the Interstate Commerce Clause, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the Constitution. You can't actually do anything in a state in restraint of trade between
Between the states, sure.
Now, the wine guys, believe it or not, did have something going there.
Yes, they did, yeah, because you couldn't sell across state lines.
There were 12 reciprocal states.
Yes.
And Missouri was one of them.
Yeah, Missouri was one.
And how they got away with that, I don't know, but that's kind of broken down anyway. Did it break down legally or just as a function of market
I think
pressure?
it may have broken down legally now, but I think it was a lot of market pressure that brought that to bear. Yeah, yeah. And they ship everything now.
The internet has a effect of flattening distribution networks. This is why I know that Elon will eventually win on this.
Yes.
If he hangs in there long enough. There's the reasons for distribution networks kind of go away when you can click anywhere on the internet. And it's one click away.
Stuff just shows up, yes.
We found some kind of internet geography between here and Europe, but it has to do again with customs, currency exchanges,
Yes.
and value-added
Right,
taxes,
taxations, yes.
that made it very difficult for us to sell things into Europe and very difficult for people there to buy them. And so we have a distributor in Europe, Anna Kuppenberg, and EVTV EU now that is doing fairly well as a distributor, but it's sort of a geography based on taxes, customs, and currency exchange.
Yeah, not really on distance. Yeah,
Not
yeah.
really on
Place,
distance
yeah.
or... and so if I make something and mark it up 30% and hand it to a regional distributor and he marks it up 30%, and hands it to the local distributor, and they mark it up 30%. You have a whole lot of people making a pretty good living, but a fairly high price.
Yeah, high price, yeah.
And fairly low margins for the manufacturers.
Yes.
The effect of the internet is to flatten that, and so the manufacturers can get a higher percentage of the take, and the consumers can get a lower percentage.
Get a lower price, absolutely, yeah.
Obviously, the guys in the middle who have had this often monopoly territory are loath to give it up.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah.
And so they're squalling like scalded dogs. The problem is it's an act of gravity defiance. It is inherent in the nature of our current world and the disruptive technologies that have shaped it.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
recently. And I'm amazed at how slowly it plays out because the outcome is inevitable.
It's just going to happen, yeah. Yep.
And so there you are. They're going back to New Jersey, and last week we got a letter that Iowa has shut them down
yes.
from doing test drives.
Yes, no test drives in Iowa.
Whatever you're doing, how can it be illegal to offer a test drive?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. Fairly harmless, innocuous test drive.
It's these people are kind of straining the bounds of the law anyway.
Yes.
Yes. There's no law against giving test drives.
Not unless you're in Iowa.
Unless you're in Iowa. And so that continues to play out. Tesla's stock did a bit of a correction.
It did this week, yeah.
This week. So last week they could do no wrong. This week I hear that they need at least $6 billion just to stay in business.
Yes, that's what I had heard too. Where did all that come from? Yeah,
there's no shortage of people typing themselves smart.
No.
Meanwhile, this morning, Alibaba opened for trading.
Yes.
At $92.97.
All right. Yeah.
Don't ask me how I know. Making it the largest IPO in history. Alibaba is it's kind of a hydra. It looks like different things to different people. To me, it's a B2B kind of a thing where you can easily get in contact with Chinese, mostly trading companies, some manufacturers who will sell you things, but they're really not interested in below 100 of them.
Right.
And they like to sell 1,000.
Sure.
And they do love to sell to the U.S. Once you are introduced via Alibaba, it usually goes to email, and it can take 40 or 50 emails. The one I love is right at the end, after we've got everything worked out. I like the product. I want to carry it. We've determined the price and the quantity. Is I go to pay them, and they want me to add $67 for PayPal fees. And I'm like, you want me to pay your banking charges? Why don't I buy your lunch, too? And maybe a little contribution toward your transportation costs getting to work. You pay my banking fees, and I'll pay yours.
Hey, no problemo.
Yeah. And I've had a number of them just come apart on this goofy thing. You can't do it anyway. It's against PayPal rules to charge the thing. And they never smarten up. It's kind of like, put it in the bin.
Yeah, it's not like you can't get it. You just put it in the price.
We have to pay not as high as they do, apparently, but a small percentage when people buy things via PayPal from us.
We do.
We don't try to get them to pay the percentage. It's just not done here. The credit card companies don't allow the merchants to do it.
No.
Is what it is. But the Chinese don't really get this. They just know they got this withholding from their payment, and they want
somebody should pay.
Somebody should pay. And so they're east meets west. There's still a big gap there, but Alibaba also does consumer stuff and auction things, and they're eBay and Amazon and everything. They have about 11 different businesses there.
The
Very,
payments?
very profitable already.
Yeah.
And they just did an IPO, and I think it'll just go crazy. One of the things about these big IPOs is if they had nothing and were worth nothing, when you all get together and raise $20 billion, if we all get together and chip in a little bit and wind up with $20 billion, we'll find something to do as a company.
Yeah, that's right. We'll figure out some way to spend it.
If we didn't have anything before. But Alibaba has got the world's largest population. They increasingly are part of U.S.-Chinese trade, and I think they have a very bright future. Although it can be very frustrating to deal with.
Yeah, deal with them directly.
Now, I've got some vendors that are just like sweethearts, man. There is no issue at all. I've got a guy I've dealt with on the braided straps for years.
Oh, yes.
He's a pleasure to deal with. The others are just insufferable.
They're not ready for prime time, huh?
But I've gotten where I prefer dealing with them than most of the U.S. vendors. What other news do you have?
It looks like Nissan may source some cheaper batteries from LG Chem.
That is a story that's gotten away from them.
Yeah, it has. Carlos Ghosn is, preparing to cut the battery manufacturing, but it's tough to see what that really means, and concentrate his efforts in, I guess, the domestic plant in Tennessee. I suppose what they're saying.
Nissan bought from NEC 51% interest in a company that they now jointly own called the Automotive Energy
it was like
AECS.
AES or AECS or something, yeah.
And they actually made the Nissan Leaf battery cells and the ones in the Better Place packs that we sold. They're identical cells, and they came from the same company in Japan.
Okay, yes.
Meanwhile, Nissan got over $1 billion of U.S. taxpayer money to build a battery plant in Smyrna, Tennessee, employing some 500 people. Again, it's a huge plant, not very many people.
No, and employing robots?
Robots. They don't even have lights and acres in the building.
Yeah.
So Tesla was not the first with a gigafactory. Nissan was.
Right, that would make sense, yeah.
And they actually are getting some money from the British government to do the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Here's the problem. Their batteries, by all accounts, are still up $265, $270 a kilowatt hour.
Oh, man.
And LG Chem, who sells batteries to the Volt and a few others, has gotten Reno to reconsider and look at their batteries at a lower price than Reno can get them from Nissan.
From Nissan.
Ghosn runs both companies.
Yeah, he does.
In fact, it's like a joint company.
Yes, he does.
But like companies are, it's broken up into different warring factions and divisions, and so on and so forth. So here they go. He's trying to do this. And they actually were talking this week about writing off the British and U.S. plant.
Really?
But they have an agreement with NEC on this AECS that sort of requires them to buy stuff from them to make the batteries. And, of course, his original concept, I don't know if you remember, Nissan, seriously, had told people they were going to sell 250,000 cars a year.
Yes.
Electric cars. They're actually doing pretty well now, but more like 30,000.
30, yeah, 30,000, yeah.
And so the battery battle is mostly within Nissan. And of course, they announce something every few days of what they're going to do. The truth is, they don't know what they're
They don't have the slightest idea, yeah.
and I don't either.
No. That's why it's fun to report this news.
I would say, let me sell the cells.
Yeah, I know.
The and 265 per kilowatt hour. That's about what we're moving cells for now.
Yeah,
I remember it hadn't been, but early last year that they were trying to make sure we broke $1,000 a kilowatt hour,
Yes.
and we were at 300.
Yes,
or something.
I know. I don't know where they got that number. Everybody's reporting that.
A lot of the analysts are
Yeah.
a little lost, dazed, and confused
Yeah.
in this space. It's a frontier space. It sort of looks like different things to different people depending on where they stand and what they're looking at. And that's the joy of a new, highly disruptive,
Yes.
bubbling cauldron of innovation with stuff happening all over the place. I love it. That's kind of industry I want to be part of.
Yep, it is cool.
But Nissan is a little frustrated with it, I would imagine.
It sounds like it, yeah. Sounds like I've just got too many issues and contingencies. There was something cool, this ultra-high power automatic charging station for trucks. That they just look like they drive under it. They've got these 4 contacts here. We don't have a lot of green screens. I don't know what we'll
Yeah,
show you.
I'll put
show you a
up.
small piece of it. But it's called the Truck Bar, and they bring in...
What's the company's name?
The company is Oprid Truck Bar, so it must be a special company that has a, or Oprid is the name of the company, and this is the Truck Bar, and they also have one called the Bus Bar, V3. So they do 4 DC charging, these prongs that actually latch into the top of the vehicle and give it a DC fast charge.
How much power can they do?
It's up to 650 kilowatts is what they're
That's
saying.
huge.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, they're using the technology of trolleys and trains and city buses.
Yeah.
Where you have your roof charged from an overhead wire system. Well, they're establishing a place where you can pull in, and they will lower these bars that then connect with bars on top of the vehicle and transfer massive amounts of power.
Stout, yeah.
650 kilowatts will charge you pretty quick.
Pretty quick, yes.
And don't you want to be sitting in that truck?
Oh, yeah, you just make sure your feet are up and you're on the
Hitting
rubber
the
seats.
juice,
And
yeah.
things. That's right.
So it's, but it's kind of interesting because of the scale of it, but also a little outside of the box thinking. You know, we think we have to have all these guarded plugs and so forth. What if you had 2 bare bars on the roof of your car, and they're not really hooked up to anything? And then you go to this charge thing, and it lowers a couple of big bars sitting right on top of them, but a little weight on it. And, of course, you flip a switch and or have a CAN communication where it closes a couple contactors.
Right, knows what's going
and
on.
actually connects your bars to your battery pack. And then they turn on the juice, and that could be
That'd be a way to do it.
it would be an interesting way to do fast charge.
Yeah, it would. It would be very interesting.
And so that's as we get into higher voltages, the little Tesla plug isn't
Yes.
going to
Not going to
cut it.
Not going to cut it.
And but that might.
Yes.
I just thought it was interesting.
It is.
the
It's,
way
it's pretty
they
cool.
did it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's kind of what I've got for news.
Alrighty. Let's.
Everybody out there still awake?
Is anybody out there still awake?
Got the spinning motor.
This is an interesting thing that we have from Coda, the Coda parts. This is a Lear Corporation charger. And I bought some of these out of the Coda bankruptcy. and I'm kind of fascinated with it. It's fairly small. It's in our normal range of 3.3 kilowatts. That's what a lot of our chargers are. In fact, we sell a lot of 4 kilowatt chargers now. But it's heavy metal, liquid cooled, quite small. But it has two interesting characteristics. One is it's almost ubiquitous.
Okay.
And by that I mean they're in all the Volts.
Okay. Yep.
All the smart electric cars, all the Kodas. I think the Chevy Spark. They're not in the Nissan Leaf.
Okay.
And probably not in the BMW i3. But there's going to be a lot of these flopping around out there. That's number one. Number two, there is virtually no information available about them, about the company, about the charger. There's just nothing out there. It's kind of like that pump I found.
Yes, right, the Peersburg pump.
The Peersburg pump.
Yes.
That they sold 98 million of them, and there'd never been a word written about it or a scrap of paper generated. Other than that goes to the OEMs.
Yes.
These are companies that do sell to OEMs in massive numbers.
Yes, yes.
And Lear Corporation actually is famous in the automotive world for seats.
Oh, okay.
They make seats.
They have
for
seats.
cars.
Okay, okay.
And that's their main forte, or was. They entered a bad period, and now they're trying to get into higher margin things like chargers. But I think these are going to be all over the place, inexpensively. But we're struggling to determine how they work. And over the last weekend, there was convened a meeting we're calling LearCon 2014 between Byron
Isambard, yes.
Isambard, Mark Weisheimer,
Okay.
and Brian Cuchin.
Oh, okay, all right. That's a good group.
And they had a meeting in Ohio and filed a brief video report that I thought was interesting. Let's have a look.
All right.
Hey EVTV, Byron Isambard here from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I'm leading up the Lear Charger project. This year at EVCon 2014, I asked Jack if I could take one of the chargers home and start to reverse engineer the CAN protocol on board the charger. If you're unfamiliar with the Lear Charger, it is a 3.3 kilowatt ideal charger from the Lear Corporation. They are readily available in wrecked vehicles. The Volt has one charger in it. The Koda has two chargers in it, giving a total of 6.6 kilowatts of onboard charging. And the Smart ED has one as well, we believe. The charger is CAN controlled, but there's very little documentation on it. Absolutely no product data sheets or anything that we could find. The best we could do is we found two patents, one from the one from Koda and one from Lear Corporation itself. Basically kind of giving an idea of how to run two chargers at the same time. So apparently there's some sort of load balancing. I'm going to go ahead and take the top off this. It's a liquid cooled charger. About 11 screws hold the lid on, just so you can take a look here. Very well laid out, very compact charger. We found a older model of charger, a picture of one, and it basically said it has two outputs, a 200 to 420 volt DC high voltage output, as you would expect, but also a 13.2 volt DC output at 30 amps. The Lear Charger is a liquid cooled charger. It generated very little heat in our testing. It warmed the water up a little bit. But we were able to get the two chargers to run, one in a master configuration and one in a slave configuration. We being Mark Weisheimer and Brian Cochase. We were calling that LearCon 2014 down at Mark's house in Ohio. I drove down there last weekend, and we had a good Saturday afternoon, basically sending a whole bunch of CAN commands, trying out a whole bunch of different configurations of chargers, trying to get the 13.2 volt DC output to come on. We were not able to do that, but we were able to command the charger at current levels all the way up to 14.2 amps high voltage bus DC, which worked out to about 5,500 watts for 2 chargers, or 2,700 watts per charger. That was pretty neat to see. We have yet to figure out the remainder of the CAN protocol and the CAN IDs and everything else. It's spitting out something like 16 different CAN IDs. We have some CAN captures that are pretty large in size, and we're starting to parse through those, but it's very promising. We're working with Richard Starr in California too. He has 2 working codas, and he is purchasing 2 roller codas from, I forget the company, but they had the coda parts available where Jack got his chargers and stuff from. He was able to get us a series of CAN messages that we were able to parse and figure out which ones were for the charger, and sent it. There's actually only 2 commands that we need to send to the charger, a 54 address and a 50 address. The 54 address, we know one of the bytes in it controls the current. We think it's the AC input current allowed, and the 50 address basically sends a stop byte. So it stops charging. That's about all we have for now, and we'll keep you updated in the future. Some tasks we'll be working on are parsing the data and figuring out all the other data coming out of the charger. We're going to try to figure out how to get that 13.2 volt DC high current bus up, and we are also going to figure out if we can parse the rest of the data and figure out the master-slave configuration of this charger. Just in case you're wondering what I'm going to do with the charger, behind me I have my 1998 Ford Ranger EV. It's probably one of 200 left that haven't been crushed. Ford actually made a series of EVs. It has a old style J1772, not the new plug but the larger rectangular plug. My charger's not working right now. I'm trying to figure it out. And I also have a Better Place battery pack that I'm testing with that will be going in this truck to replace the 2,000 pounds of lead acid that was in it. And if you have any questions, feel free to find me on the forum or get a hold of Jack and he'll get a hold of me. Thank you.
It looked like fun.
Looks like fun.
They're going to take over.
I don't know how those guys move so fast.
I know.
They look like you guys did unloading the boat.
Unloading the boat. Isn't that amazing?
And that struck me. And then Byron's red Ford EV. What he's talking about is that's an original Ford electric vehicle from the late 90s, but with a lead acid battery.
Yes, man. Wow.
A broken charger.
Yes.
And he's got a Better Place pack and wants to get a Delphi charger. Of course, the Better Place pack has to be charged to 403 volts.
Yes.
And one of the issues that we had moving to AC systems, it was these higher voltages.
Yes.
300 to 400 volts was foreign ground for us, and particularly with some of our peripherals.
Yes.
I have managed to chase down DC to DC converters that work at those voltages, chargers that work at those voltages, and so we're getting there.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
And making the move. But this one will go to 420 volts, charge between 200 and 420, and 3.3 kilowatts. You can, they are CAN controlled.
Oh, okay.
And so we have to work that out and get some sort of a controller made for it. And as I said in the blog this week, I have 2 boards coming for CAN.
Yes.
And so that'll be of some assistance. You can, of course, use the JevQ to control it. I'm sure we'll do a module for it to control it. But they're trying to decode the CAN. But there's a big deal and a patent and everything about how this thing shares charging between two chargers.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They're isolated chargers anyway, as are all of our Chinese chargers.
Yes.
The only thing that's really out there non-isolated is the manzanita, and you want to be very careful with that. But with isolated chargers, there's not really an issue.
No.
You can just run two chargers.
Sure.
The Brusa has a way of wiring them to be master-slave type
Yes,
thing.
yes.
I've never bothered.
No.
And the reason is, with an isolated charger, you can put one charger on there with a profile to charge to the top voltage you want to do, and the taper of the current, constant current, constant voltage charge curve that we're all familiar with. But you can add a second charger as a boost that simply charges at full current until some lesser voltage,
Right.
kind of right before that, and then have it terminate.
And have it terminate, the other one finish. Yeah, yeah.
And the other one just keeps charging,
Yeah.
and it notices that the voltage that was up there kind of drops off a little bit when the second charger goes off.
Yeah.
But other than that, so I don't know the point of this wiring harness and so forth to carry all these signals to the other one of the pair in the Coda had two of these chargers for 6.6 kilowatts of charging power, which is certainly pleasant, and it's a small enough device to
It really
do that.
is. Yeah, and to be water cooled. Yeah.
It's water cooled, but and that puts me off initially. Except you can just simply put that in your cooling loop for your inverter, for example, and when you're going down the road, it's not charging.
It's not on anyway.
So it's actually kind of a cooler,
heat sink. Yeah,
a heat sink, heat exchanger for your inverter. If you run the same system when you get AC power to cool the charger, it's going through the inverter, but the inverter's not on there.
It's not doing anything. Yeah, exactly.
And so it's not that big a deal. You kind of splice it into the same system, and I'm sure it would do fine. But I'm a little lost as to why we have to coordinate so well. And they tell me coming out of LearCon that does it very gracefully. It really shares the load.
Really? Okay.
So on and so forth.
Okay. Nice.
But I don't get it entirely. Let's go to our EVTV EU affiliate.
All right.
Anna Kluppenberg.
Yes.
He's making waves with the little red boat.
Okay. Cool.
Well, hey, EVTV. Here's Anna Kloppenborg with that weekly EVTV Amsterdam update. I'm back, and it is time to do some more data-driven research. I have been showing you how to ride around in a small red speedboat, having a lot of fun, occasionally going out for water skiing events or taking people for flyby drives. But Jack and Brian have let us know that EVTV is a techie show, and we need some techie data. That means that I should be going out with these vehicles that we're making out on the water and making some data as for power draw at RPM and speed levels. So I had gone out with the Delta on an early morning, and we had a new prop to test. The old prop gave us a sweet spot around 40 kilometers an hour at only 125 amps at, let's say, 150 volts, giving us about 40 kilometers an hour for 18.5 kilowatt of draw. That prop went to America to be fitted on Jack's new Delta, or the next new Delta if our insurance will finally come through. They sure like to take their time. But anyways, that meant we had opportunity to test another prop, one that could be more efficient, could be more fun, as it has 4 blades and is definitely bigger. So it was very torquey, I would believe. It had a lot of blade surface to push water away. Maybe so much surface that it also drags in the water at certain speeds. Well, the only way to really know is to take her out into the wet and do some data gathering. So without further ado, I give you full-on speed testing, data gathering, Delta style. Slight warning, data gathering takes a long time. So it's going to be like watching paint dry. It takes a long time. But now we're watching paint dry in a speedboat on the water. So let's do it.
Okay. Let's see. Okie doke. Well, here we are on a Monday morning. I will look ridiculous in the name of science and action footage. Let's get our log file started here. We'll call it new prop 1. We'll save that baby. She's monitoring. I'll set our meter to amps. I've got the mile per hour right here. Let's see if I can clean that up just a little bit for you. So the idea is that we test the new prop and we get some data on speeds and power usage at those speeds. So let's see what we can do. So, here we start. Let's see, check that we have our outputs. Because I want to be able to see RPMs. Here we go. RPM holding at 966. Amps at 7 amps. Do a quick voltage check. 158 volts. 7 amps equals. Hey, I just lost my GPS. Here we go. So we're doing 4 miles an hour at 7 amps, and that's about 950 RPM. Here we go, guys. I'm looking serious just as I'm trying to collect all this data, but this is pretty cool. Take a quick gander in the engine bay area just to make sure. Okay. Okie-doke, everything's still running. Let's do one more stop-start of the log file. Okie-doke. Well, let's get some acceleration feeling on this baby, yeah? Doing 19 miles an hour at 100 RPM. Two and a half thousand RPM. Yeah, this mile an hour thing's not gonna work for me. So I need to know what 40 kilometers an hour is. Speed unit, kilometer per hour. Thank you. So let's find that 40 kilometer an hour sweet spot and see what the efficiency is with this prop. Doing a steady 40 at 148 amp, 40 at 145 amp, and that is 3,500 RPM. 3,500 RPM at 170 amp and 40 kilometers an hour. So, do a very quick check of temperatures. Controller temperature at 26 and motor temperature 26, controller temperature 26. They're all still just about at ambient. Quick check on the engine bay. So good. Okay, let's get a little acceleration test here. See what that's like. So, 0 to 60 in, how fast can we do it? Are you still running? Yes, you are. Okay. Are you still running? Yes, you are. That was rather ridiculous. Cool. Can I get the temperatures up a bit? Yeah, 27, 28. Okie doke. Now let's see if we can get any kind of stable readings for speed here. So, come down a bit. 7 kilometer an hour at 7 amps and 990 RPM. So 7 amps, 6 kilometers an hour at, let's pop it up just a bit. So here we go. 7 kilometer an hour at 8 amps and 1,000 RPM. 7 kilometer an hour at 8 amps and 1,000 RPM. (1500 RPM) equals 9 kilometers an hour and 21 amps. So 9 kilometers an hour, 21 amps, and 1500 RPM. 1500 RPM, 9 kilometer an hour, 21 amps. 2,000 RPM is just ridiculous. Your nose is all up. You're doing 10 kilometers an hour at 60 amps. So let's get the first planing speed RPMs. Turn around a bit. Doing 33 kilometer at 123 amps and 3,000 RPM. 3,000 RPM, 30 kilometer an hour, 120 amps. This is about my minimal planing speed, I would think. My nose is still up a bit, I'm still hanging back. Not very efficient, but I'm doing 115 amps, 28 kilometers, and 3,000 RPM. RPM, I'm doing 40 kilometer an hour at 165, 162 amps. Not quite as good as with the other prop actually. I was seeing about 125 amps at 40 kilometer an hour. Now I'm seeing about 160. So it's, and at this is 3,300 RPM. Not quite right. Turn around. (32 kilometer at 140 amps and 3,300 RPM. 3,300 RPM, it's 33 kilometers an hour, and 140 amps. Now it's about 40 kilometer an hour, 180 amps. And 3,600 RPM. 3,600 RPM, 40 kilometer an hour, 160 amps. Kilometer an hour at 140 amps, pretty steady. and that's 3,400 RPM. .5 km/h, 148 amps, and 3,500 RPM. It's still on. Yay! There we go. So we got to be really hitting that 40 mark to do it in an hour with the channel crossing. Let's get it up to 40 a bit. To about, go higher. Need some weight in the front. About 35 km/h, 160 amps, and 3,500 RPM. So at these speeds, the motor will be heating up a bit. It really likes to go a little faster. See how we're doing back there. Okay, that's still pretty good. The motor's warming up. That part's not too bad, really. So we're seeing controller temperatures of 28 degree. Where's the other controller? Let's see. So motor at 59, controller at 27. Oh, of course, we're just seeing one of the two controllers. That's okay. So let's try another acceleration run then. We still have our log going. fun to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a little electric speedboat. What do you expect? So we're going straight. So we're going straight, and this is 3, 2, 1. Really wants to do about 35 kilometers an hour, and that equals 130 amps. It's a great 1C draw. It's 130 amp draw at 35 kilometers an hour, doing 3,300 RPM. It's pretty much the stable cruise speed. I'd like to go a little faster. Like 30, 36, 140, and 3,500 RPM. So 36 at 140, 3,500 RPM. Cool to get a little spat on the buoy. See if I can catch that on camera. I think this top is just a little bigger, so it's up front, and it's just giving me a lot of resonation off the bottom of my hull. It's making a lot of noise. Probably not as efficient either. Taking 155 amps here for 38 kilometers an hour at 3,600 RPM. Kilometer an hour, 150 amps. 3,500 RPM. Doing 36 kilometers an hour at 3,500 RPM. Problem we do have is that even though this is 30 kilowatts, if I do it correctly, probably not. The problem is that we still have a climbing motor temperature, so it's not quite a stable temp. Better. 37 kilometer, 150 amps, 150 volts, and 3,500 RPM. Everybody still on? Yep. That motor temperature is holding kind of steady at 60. 61. Not climbing real fast, but it is climbing. Controllers are holding at under 30, so that's fine. So it's just a little short of the speed I need to do to cross the channel in under an hour. And it's just a little high for the amps I want it to be. So the move from a 3-blade to a 4-blade prop, it was a temporary move, and we're going to move back for that distance attempt, because this just isn't quite cutting it. The acceleration is a lot of fun though. It's kind of like a bucking bronco. Let's take it just up to 40. Vibration coming into the boat. Probably the prop wash is being hit up too much. So yeah, not quite what we're looking for here. which would be good enough for crossing under an hour, but I'm doing it at 169 amps. I had that down to about 130 amps before with the other prop, so that was definitely a lot better. Also, I'm doing only 3,700 RPM, and my motor temperature's climbing. It's up to 70 now. I'm gonna take it back in. That just won't quite cut it for crossing the channel. Right now we're doing a steady 39 kilometer an hour, 170 amps, 148 volts, and 3,700 RPM. Sure is a pretty morning out here, the Eiberg Bay. The controller temp is still under 30, so the cooling system's working perfectly. Motor temperature's going up. We're just not making enough RPM to get enough air through and keep it cool. It's good on that front. I'll do a couple more acceleration deals. Halfway through the pack. Let's see if the motor still goes up. Okay, that's it for take one. Okay, here's our second take. We'll call it log number 3. I want to do a few more quick accels, get those on the log, and do a bit more at around that 40 kilometer an hour mark. Make sure that I know what my usage is at that speed. Let's start with straightening her out. There we go, she's got some power. Felt a few little minor cutbacks there. Not sure if we're hitting a temp issue. Doesn't look like it. 73 on the motor. So if it's not a temp issue, maybe they're overspeed issues. That could be. I've got it limited to, I think, 5,500 on the motor side so that we don't overspin our prop. Maybe sometimes we're hitting some air and it needs to cut back to not overspeed. It's not an undervolt issue. Going home. So guys, this was Delta testing on Monday morning, the 1st of September 2014. She's definitely a wild little rodeo beast, and a 4-blade prop at 12.5-inch diameter. A little bit much, guys. We're going back to a 12-inch 3-blader, and that'll be a lot better. Check you back at the studio. There you have it, guys. Data. I took all the data points that I was shouting out at you while we were on the water, and I stuck them in a little Excel sheet. And then I sorted them for speed. So now I have a column for speed, RPMs, and amps, and here and there at some voltages. I'm not that good yet at making graphs out of these data, so I will send them on to EVTV and, of course, make them available along with the log files from the controller to anybody that would want to do some further research. What's the broad gist of it, though? A 4-blade prop, not as efficient as a 3-blade prop, not in my boat anyway, at our weights and our target speeds. We were doing about 7 kilometers an hour around 1,000 RPM at about 8 amps draw. So that's 1,000 RPM, 7 kilometers an hour at 8 amps draw. Going up to 1,500 RPM, so spinning the prop half as fast, only netted us 2 more kilometers an hour at 9 kilometers an hour, and 21 amps. So we're going up almost threefold in amps for only half the extra RPMs and only a third extra speed. So there's some nonlinear exponential kind of power increase over not so much speed increase going on there. Then at 2,000 RPMs, I was already drawing 60 amps, so 3 times as much amps again for only 500 extra RPMs, and going only about 11 kilometers an hour. So this is that point where we're pushing the front of the boat just up into the air and really not making any speed and just kind of strutting around our stuff at very inefficient levels. Once we're over the hump, though, at 2,500 RPM, we're doing 100 amps for 30 kilometers an hour. So here we see we have a big speed increase from 10 to 30 kilometers an hour for only about 500 extra RPMs. And it took us about 40 extra amps going from 60 to 100. Anyways, this is not going to seem very coherent, so that's why we have the data sheet, and I should have some figures up to the left or right of me. Don't know where I'm going to stick them yet. Then going up towards 3,000 RPMs, we're doing 33 kilometers an hour from 30, so we're only doing a slight increase in speed, and we're going from 100 to 123 amps, so it's costing us 1/5 extra power for only 1/10 extra speed. Then, now we're getting up to my kind of speeds, 40 kilometers an hour at 3,500 RPMs and 145 amp draw. So in this area, I have a few data points at 3,500 RPM at 150 amps, doing 37 kilometers an hour. So basically at this level, we're doing between 22.5 and 25 kilowatt draw for about 40 kilometer an hour. Remember, on the 3-blade prop, I was doing only about 18.5 kilowatt
for the same 40 kilometer an hour. And now it's taking me between 22 and 25 kilowatt. So that's the decrease in efficiency with this prop. Probably not all due to the 4-blade, largely, I think, but also this 4-blader was a little bigger. Little bigger means it's a little close to the boat, and I started to hear a lot of that old resonance again that was coming from the prop just being so close to the bottom of the boat that the prop wash was just coming up against it and creating noise. And I think noise is, an indication of something not going to speed, but it's going to sound and vibrations in my case. Then our max speed, around 6,000 RPMs, costing about 600 to 650 amps, can't do that very long, was about 56 to 59 kilometers an hour. The 3-blade prop was getting me there at about 61 kilometers an hour, so it's a little faster, not that much, just a little, but at some lower amp levels. I was doing about 450 to 500 amps in that time. Once again, I'll stick up some of these figures if I can, and I will make this Excel sheet available to all of y'all and EVTV for further study and enlightenment. One other part of trying to get some hard data on the wet surface is that, as you saw, I was going back and forth, and at the same RPM, I could do some wildly different amps. And at the same speeds, I could be doing some different RPMs. The amount of variation that you get with the currents, the wind, maybe if I'm accelerating or decelerating, it's kind of hard to get long pieces of stable data out there on the water, in part because, the water is a fluid dynamic kind of place. Also because, I'm going that fast in a small boat with a limited amount of battery. So it's not like I have hours and hours of rolling time to get fixed data points. I'm trying, but as you saw, it was quite a juggle getting all my data in and not killing myself in the process. I do hope you enjoyed watching paint dry with Anne Kloppenborg of EVTV EU this week. And I'll be sure to start adding on data points, not only for the new 3-blade prop that we have since put on the Delta, but of course also for our outboard with the beer cooler battery, and for our Joni with the warp motor setup and old Winston lithium yttrium batteries. On the Joni, I don't quite think we'll be doing 60 kilometers an hour with 5,000 kilos of metal around us, but we should definitely get RPM versus volts and speed draw ratings. So, what else did I have going on this week? Well, a lot, but after about 45 minutes of footage, I'll have to boot that out to next week. We've got a lot of Jeep CJ5 updates for you, and we have one little visitor that came by this week, and I thought I'd show you that as well.
Well, hey guys, we're here with another EVCon veteran. This seems to be Steve West. I just got a lot of New Zealand guys coming up. What brought you here, and does it have anything to do with the shiny new Tesla?
Yeah, I'm here. For those of you that saw me at EVCon, I haven't got home yet. No. I'm still traveling.
You weary traveler.
This was one of the purposes of my trip, was to pick up my brand new P85 Plus Model S, which I needed to collect from Tilburg, and I figured if I was coming all the way to the Netherlands, how could I do that and not just pop in and visit Anna?
Absolutely.
So here we are, picking up a bit of charge while I'm here.
Very cool.
And planning my rapid drive back to the UK.
Sure.
I've got a ferry to catch.
Mm-hmm. And she'll be shipped from England to...
Yeah.
Okay.
Southampton is the port that the car is going to leave from.
And you'll be the first Model S in New Zealand by at least a year or something?
Oh, at least, yeah. And I may even be the first in all of Australasia.
Aha.
Tesla are not committing to any particular date that they're going to ship their first Model S to Australia.
Well, fanboy and the low-hanging fruit, as Jack seems to say. You must have been right down there at knee level, fruit-wise, for the EV mind. Any self-built EVs in your near future?
or buying nicks?
Oh, well, you know, I did my first conversion back in 2008.
Okay.
It was a Toyota MR2 Spider that I put a load of Thunder Sky lithium cells into, Warp 9 motor, and
Right, and Soliton.
no, this was pre-Soliton. This is
Pre-Soliton.
2008, so
Right.
that was the Zilla.
The Zilla.
Yeah,
at the time,
so
yeah.
the Z1K.
Sure. Is it
And-
still driving?
Well, no, it's a
a shop
project
car.
that's
Yeah.
in pieces. It's all over my garage floor. So,
Yeah.
you know, one of these days, I don't think I'm ever going to put it back together. I
Sure.
think it's probably worth more as parts
Yeah.
than as a complete car. So,
So you got a pack that can do something.
I got a pack that could do something.
Maybe a house pack.
Yeah.
Try some DC to DC charging.
I'm
That'd
sure
be
I'll find
fun.
a use for it.
Very cool. Well, Steve West was here, and we're going to send him off, make sure he catches that boat. But anybody else, EVCon veterans, you know you're welcome. See you later, guys. There's Steve West and his shiny red new Tesla. I'm sure that Tesla is now maybe already nearing clearing Cape of Good Hope, the south of Africa. Would it be going around that way? Well, maybe not. Does it go around through the Panama Canal to New Zealand? I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into my shipping lanes from Southampton to New Zealand. Might be doing a Panama Canal. It might be doing a Cape of Good Hope. But either way, it should be on its way to New Zealand, where Steve resides and is back home after his long trips around the world. And he should be the first one taking delivery of such a shiny red Tesla, or any Tesla really, out there on the Model S front, at least. I'm sure he'll be a very happy chappy. Definitely a proof that the low-hanging fruit, the guys that love the OEM EVs, might also be our EVCon kind of guys. So whether you rock it OEM style or you drive it your way, at least we got the peoples in the EVs, and that's a great thing. Anyways, enough talky talk from Anna Kloppenborg, and I hope to see you all next week. You better be building. Later.
He was buzzing around the bay with his new special prop.
Yeah, he's got a special prop.
Okay, a special prop, yeah.
I sounded a little disappointed with
Yeah,
that.
he did sound a little disappointed that the four-blade prop wasn't quite what he was hoping.
I'm a little lost on his testing methodology.
Okay, yeah.
I think he was having way too much fun.
He was just having fun. He was smiling too
We
much.
need to get
with
out
the
and come
camera on.
over here and test some batteries with me when it's not EVCon.
Why don't you put
So
on the
he-
head cam?
Yeah. I'll wear a head cam next time. Anna, this is pretty simple. You take it to 5 kilometers an hour, and you fiddle with it until it's kind of staying there, and let it stabilize for 30 seconds or a minute. And then write down 3 basic things: your current, your battery voltage, and your RPM.
Okay.
And then you go to 10 kilometers an hour and repeat.
Okay, yeah. We've done that before.
And you rinse and repeat until you get to 60. And the boat's kind of about to shake apart.
Right. It feels like you're in a bad science fiction movie.
And it's not much more confusing than that.
Yeah.
He was having a lot of swing thoughts out there.
And fun.
And envisioning crossing the channel, and he's got an awful lot going on there for something that's really kind of a watching paint dry exercise.
Yes.
But you have to kind of do that, Anna, and that's I still want you to do it. You're going to have to take another trip out there. We'll be able to draw you a curve of your current and basically your power consumption, as opposed to speed. That I think you'll find not only very informative, but then if you change something on the boat, you'll be able to tell if it got better or it got worse.
Right. Yeah, just go do the same test.
I'm just, Atlas, well, give me a place to stand and a lever and I can move the world. Well, I can't. Not without a meter.
Yeah, that's right, and a meter.
And you have to have a meter on everything. And that's the way you put one on this boat, is do these measurements and then do them again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not very fun boating, I'm sure.
No, we've done it in cars. It's not very fun
It's
driving.
not that much fun driving.
No, it's not.
We don't do very much of that anymore. But we need to get back
we need to do
into it.
some, yes.
and but it gives you a baseline.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's early in the boating game, and he's still playing with the drivetrain, and it's absolutely imperative that you do that.
Yeah.
Because right now, Anna, by my calculations, you're going to make it about 17 miles of your 22.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And you're going to have to be towed the rest of the way in. Calais to Dover.
Yeah, we don't want to be towed into Dover.
And so a little work needs to be done there. But you have to do it knowledgeably, and that involves having a baseline measurement of the thing.
Sure.
But good video.
Yeah,
and,
nice.
And the boat looks very good.
It's a nice looking boat. I know. Nice looking boat. Way to go, Anna.
I also heard from our fellows at the, what do they call it? The Instituto de Ingenieros de Lisboa.
Oh, yes. Who might that be?
Started in 1852, the oldest engineering university in Europe. And who might that be?
That might be our friends Paolo and Celso.
Bring it in, boys.
Come on down.
Hello Jake, hello Brian.
Hello.
Here is another update from Portugal.
Yeah.
So today we are going to start with Celso and some test results from the Calp Cam 80 FI cell. So let's take a look at that.
Yeah. So I have been doing some tests to the new cells that Calp has available, the CAN series cells, and this is a CAN 80 cell, so 80 amp hours, lithium iron phosphide cell. I have here a 40 amp hour SE cell, the old ones. The CAs are exactly the same size, and this 80 amp hour, it's almost the same size and weight and whatever. So in terms of volume, it's like double the capacity in the same size, so you can build a battery pack of the size of regular. So probably all of you remember the test that Jack has made. I'll put up this for you to see. And this was a test doing a discharge at ambient temperature and at below zero temperatures. I did more or less the same with this cell, and I have to say I was expecting worse, but the results came very good. Why? Why I was expecting worse? This is an energy cell, so it has more thicker, probably, I'm just saying, probably it has a thicker active material on the current collectors, and so that would make the migration of the ions through the active materials more difficult, because the material is thicker. And by doing these tests also at ambient and at low temperatures, I was expecting to see a little bit more voltage side. Actually, I didn't see that. The voltage sag was even less, although I didn't test at 0.5 Cs. I tested 0.3 Cs at the datasheet size. And we've got very, very low voltage sag. So I should say these batteries have more or less the same performance as the CEs, as the respect of low temperature. With the previous test that Jack made, he was able to take about 97.4% of the amp hours. With this test that I've made, we've been able to take 95.9, okay, almost 96% of the capacity, and that's very close, and that's good, because this is an energy cell, not a power cell. these were the tests that I've been made to these cells. Very good results, very good cold performance. I wasn't expecting the results to be so good because of the higher energy density, but it came out very good. So this turns out to be a very nice battery indeed. That's all for now. So, Jack has been talking about solar charger for batteries, and he talked with us and he asked us if we can look at it, and is a chip from Linear Technologies that does that. Is a battery charger with a MPPT for solar panels, maximum power point tracker for solar panels, and we got the evaluation board, and now we were testing its functionalities, and so we are here connected to a power supply. We don't have a solar panel, and the weather is a bit outcast with a lot of clouds. Not really a good day for testing. So we are running more or less about 70 watts, about 30 volts and 2.5 amps from this power supply into this 12 volt lead acid battery. Now the good thing about this solar battery charger is that we can have a solar panel with a lower voltage than the battery. Actually, it can do a buck conversion or a boost conversion. So if I put a little bit less voltage in the power supply, so around 9 volts, we can see the power supply is limiting to about 2.5, and the controller is doing the best to maintain the voltage and the current at the maximum point, and we are running about 9 volts and more or less the same as 2.5 amps, so it's about more or less 20 watts, and it's still charging the battery, and the voltage is lower than the battery voltage. It's about 12 or 13 volts. Let me check the voltage here. So the voltage on the battery is 2 volts. Okay, I'm guessing this multimeter is not working. Okay, 12.4 volts. Okay, so we have around 12.5 volts on the battery, we have 8 volts on the input of this controller, and it's still charging the battery. So that means we can hook up a single panel, like a 24 volt panel, like Jack has, the 120 watts and 180 watts, and we can hook that up to a 48 volt lithium battery pack, and that single panel would charge the 48 volt battery pack. That is what we are designing here, is a controller based on this that can actually take the input from a solar panel and charge a 48 volt battery. That's what we are doing. So, next we are seeing Paulo with some desoldering tips.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit again about SMD soldering. For those like Jack who has bought a medical soldering station, one of the very common mistakes that people do is they go to very, very thin soldering tips, like this ones for example, to do SMD work. Personally, I don't like those very thin tips because when you do SMD soldering, you want to get as much heat as possible to the solder. So I prefer larger tips like this one, for example. This is my favorite one. It is the STTC 25P. And this is my recommendation for everyone who is starting doing some SMD work now with a medical station. So Jack, get one of these. You will see your soldering will get much easier. Next, we will talk a little bit about what to do when we have burnt a chip or want to desolder something that we did wrong. So I'm going to teach you a small trick to do this. For example, here we have this SMD chip that is soldered to this PCB, and it has, like, I would say like 20 pads, so it's not easy to get all those pads desoldered and to lift the chip from here. The trick I'm going to teach you today is when you want to desolder a chip like that, just add more solder to it. For example, on this side, just put solder all over all the pads on the chip, and on the other side the same thing. What allows this to do? This creates a bigger thermal mass, so you can actually have the solder in a melted form for a longer time on each side. So if you then apply heat to one side and the other simultaneously, you can easily lift the chip from its position and from the PCB. So, see? Next, you would say, okay, we lift the chip, but the chip is unusable, the PCB is unusable. Not quite. If you get some desoldering braid, like this one here, let's focus on this one here. This is basically a very thin copper braid that, if you heat it up, it will absorb the solder. So with this we can very easily clean the PCB like this. See, all the solder goes away, and also the chip. Yeah. I do like this, and
The chip is running.
okay, see? Now we have a perfectly reusable chip. All the pins are individually again, and also a reusable PCB. If you then want, you can use a flux cleaner or PCB cleaner to clean up this area and make it look perfect again. Just a little paper. There. See? Back to perfection. So if we wanted, we could very easily now solder this chip or another one back in this place. So next, I'm going to show you something especially for you, Jack. This is how to remove a pin header. For example, here we have a double row. I don't know how many pins, like 14 or 15 pins on each row header. And they're also very hard to get off because you have a lot of pins that need to be heated at the same time. Here the trick is to use an old breadboard to hold the pin header in. Next, again, exactly like on the SMD component, we apply more solder to the pin header, like this. Once again, the idea is to create a thermal mass here that will allow for the solder to melt on all the pins at the same time. So you go forward and backward like this with your soldering iron, and at one point you should be able to gently just lift the whole thing. Okay, almost there. Just needs a little bit more solder. Okay. And here we go. See? pin header stayed on the breadboard and the PCB came off. Again, now if you want to reuse the PCB, we just need to clean it with our desoldering braid or with a solder sucker. There are also some solutions available like that, but I like this desoldering braid quite a lot, and usually it's good enough to get this work done. So nice and clean. Let's see from the other side. There's still some holes plugged. Just go with this over them again. Suck all the solder out of them. Okay. Now we just clean it up. Okay. Yeah, like new. So this is how you remove components that you want to take off your PCB without destroying the PCB or most of the components. The pin headers, usually you can't reuse them, but all SMD components and PCBs are reusable with this technique. So next, let's talk a little bit about the enclosure line that we selected for our upcoming projects. So let's take a look at that. So guys, I hope you liked our soldering tips there. Next, what we're going to show you is the line of enclosures that we have selected for our projects upcoming, like the JLD 505. This is a smaller enclosure that Cinch produces. It's called the mini version. Then they have the small enclosure. This one we are going to use in one of the next upgrades for the JFQ. All these enclosures are IP67, so completely watertight. And they also have the large enclosure.
The large enclosure with more IOs, also with IP67.
And all these
bigger project.
Exactly, and all these enclosures have mounting points, so it will be very easy to adopt them and to fix them in your car. So next we're going to show you the assembly process of the JLD 505. So let's take a look at that, and I hope you enjoy it with a little Portuguese music. Once again, Diolinda, this time with Fon Fon Fon. So enjoy.
Olha a banda filarmónica a tocar na minha rua. Vai na banda, oh meu amor, a soprar a sua tuba. Ele já tocou trombone, clarinete e ferrinhos. Só lhe falta o meu nome suspirado aos meus ouvidos. Toda a gente fá, 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 só dizem o que eu digo. Que tuba, fá, 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 tem tão pouco romantismo. Mas eu toco a fá, 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 e o meu coração rendido só responde fá, 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 com ternura e carinho. Os meus pais já me disseram, oh filha, não sejas louca, que as variações de Goldberg, Glenn Goldberg, que são boas, mas a música erudita não faz grande efeito em mim. Do CCB gosto da vista da Gulbenkian no jardim. Toda a gente fá, 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 só dizem o que eu digo. Que tu vai fá, 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 tem tão pouco romantismo. Mas eu toco a fá, 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 e cá dentro são sinos. No meu peito fá, 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 a tu é que me dá ritmo. Gozam as minhas amigas com o meu gosto musical, que a cena é eletroacústica e a moda experimental. E nem me falem do rock, dos samplers e discotecas. Não entendo hip-hop, o que é top é uma seca. Toda a gente fá, 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 só dizem o que eu digo. Que tu vai fá, 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 tem tão pouco coisas não me domino. Mando todos fão, que ele vai é ficar comigo. Mas ele só toca a tuba. E quando a tuba não toca, dizem que ele continua. Que em vez de beijar ele sopra. Toda a gente fão. Todos dizem o que eu digo. Que tu vai fão. Tem tão pouco romantismo. Mas eu toco fão. É fanfarra que eu sigo. Se o amor é fão. Que se lixe o romantismo.
And here we have it, the final board for the JLD 505. Next week we will do some testing on this and show you all the functionalities that we have on this new board. I think that's for this week. I would say that's all.
That's it for this week.
So back to you guys. Bye.
Bye.
pretty busy.
Yeah, they are.
They're really
a lot
busy.
Of different things going
Yeah,
on.
that was a
there in
lot
that
of
video.
stuff. Yeah.
One
Yep.
fellow taught me how to take off headers off the
Off of the boards.
off the boards by putting a massive amount of solder on them. Maybe. Kelso did some interesting testing of the Cam 80.
Yes.
And I can
Yeah.
tell by looking at the curve that he showed, particularly since he had a curve that I did on the CA sitting there,
Yes. Yeah.
same curve. They haven't done anything with the chemistry here. They've been working on the packaging consistency,
Yes.
and so forth. And so, as he noted, here's a Cam 80, here's a SE40. They're the same size.
Yes. Yes. And it's kind of
And
amazing.
size and weight is still a big deal.
Yeah.
And will be for some time. If you can make me smaller and lighter, same power,
Yeah. That's where
Same
we're headed.
capacity.
Yeah.
that's what we need.
That's what we need.
And so, and the JLD 505.
Yes. I like that.
If those of you just joining us, this is a device that Paulo and Kelso have been working on that will fairly accurately measure shunt current via shunt, pack voltage, just a single voltage. But it's kind of a modern upgrade to our JLD 404.
Yes. Yeah.
It'll have a couple of we'll have a couple of outputs to control our relays.
Yes.
You know, to do things like shut on and off contactors or relays or
Yep.
whatever, our charger. And the big thing is that it has 3 interfaces:
Yes.
Bluetooth,
Yes.
USB serial, and CAN.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And so I like all of that. I can't
Yes.
wait to get one. But he's sort of redesigned it to work with a new enclosure that they found called a cinch enclosure.
Yeah. That was.
It's got a different
Interesting.
connector, but it's kind of a plastic enclosure. It all fits down into IP67 weatherproof.
Which is weatherproof. Yeah.
And so kind of interesting. The next version of the JevQ will be in that.
Oh. Okay.
Form.
Okay. Cool.
But I want to have some JLD 505s made up first, and I think it'll be a useful addition to the line.
I do too. Yeah.
For a number of reasons. It has voltage and current available by CAN,
Yeah. That's really cool.
and that could be very interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of weatherproof, this is a little something. I hope a couple of you at least like this. This is a Genasun. They didn't actually make one for lithium batteries
It's true. Yes.
that was weatherproof.
Yes.
We've talked about this before, their regular one. They said for golf carts, marine applications, it's got to be potted.
Should be potted,
This
yeah.
is entirely sealed. Instead of little screw terminals, you have some wires coming out. They do include a little ATC 10 amp fuse in line.
Nice.
You'll find that the, let's see if I get this partly right. The yellow and the black on one side, well, they've got a little legend
Got a
here.
little legend.
Go to the panel, your solar panel, and the other two, and this one with the fuse is the positive, they go to your battery. We have a 48 volt battery that we've made. I'll show you a picture of it there. It's on the floor right now. Nominally 53 volts, but it charges at 3.55 volts per cell to 56.8.
Okay.
Now that's what I like to charge them to. Me and these guys at this company immediately came to terms because we kind of see things the same way. They like 56.8 volts, and I asked them how they got to that, and they said, "Oh, we just played around with it a lot, and that seemed to be the best one." And so they kind of arrived at that independently. This is a charge controller. You hook up a solar panel or solar panels to the input and the battery on the output, and it will charge a battery to that 56.8, and that's it. What's unusual about this and why they're kind of pricey, and Kelso alluded to this in his film using Linear Technologies chip to do a boost charge. Essentially all solar battery charge controllers take a higher voltage and do basically a buck circuit to charge to a lower voltage.
Okay, yeah.
And so you'll have a solar panel that has maybe a 24 volt output, and you'll use that to charge a 12 volt battery.
Okay, yeah.
This lets us take one with a 24 volt output and charge a 56.8 volt battery.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah.
A boost circuit.
Yeah, boost circuit, yeah.
Unheard of. They simply are not available with solar charge controllers. So these have been quite expensive, $365 or so on eBay and so forth. And that for a lead acid version, they simply did not do the potted version for lithium.
Right, yeah.
I said, well, I need, here's what I need it for, and here's what it has to be lithium. And the guy said, well, you'll have to take 100 of them, but you can make them. We'll make them for you. And
okay.
Then, so I signed up for 100 of them because they don't technically exist.
Right.
If I don't.
Yeah, we're the only ones that have them.
But this particular one will charge a 48 volt battery, lithium battery, to 56.8 volts, which is exactly where we want to go and cut out. At night, with the panels off, it only draws about 5 milliamperes from the battery overnight. And then when the sun comes up, it goes right back.
It's ready to go. Yeah, that's cool.
And so that's going to be in our store for $295, I think. So that's that should let us do a little better with. Basically, what it lets me do is take one of our flexible panels, any one of them, the 120, the 140, or the 180. And charge a 48 volt battery.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah.
Charging down to a 12 volt battery with any of those panels, the 180, for example, its maximum power point is 32.95 volts, I believe, at 5.45 amperes.
Yeah, I think so.
And so that's its best and finest work.
Yeah.
But that's not enough to charge a 48 volt battery.
Yeah.
You can certainly charge a 12 volt battery with it. There's charge controllers out there for $25.
Oh, to do that, yeah.
That do that at low current level,
low,
2 or 3 amps. This will do up to 8 amps, 350 watts of solar input.
Okay.
And then charge the batteries at that or at below. If you're boosting it up, it would be a lower current level. So it's not a massive, this is not for big systems. This is to take 1 or 2 solar panels and charge a 48 volt battery.
Right.
That's what it does.
Cool.
If you need to charge a 12 volt battery, you don't need this.
They don't need that at all, no.
This is to charge this one was solely to charge a 48. I could get a 36, but the almost all the golf carts now are 48
volts, yeah.
And so that's where we're going to go with it, and that'll be the perfect accoutrement for our flexible solar panels.
Yes.
And our 48 volt lithium battery. And so we're putting together a kit it's like a solar lithium conversion kit. It's not to convert a car, it's to convert something that runs on 48 volts lead acid to lithium, but adding solar recharging capabilities to it. And so I think we've got some unique products there. This does not otherwise exist. So we put together a kit for doing golf carts or boats or whatever. It also includes a regular charger that you plug into the wall to charge.
Oh, yeah, you need it.
To 56.8 volts. Now that'll do 25 amps. So it's
I'll take care of it pretty quick.
Considerably stouter.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm doing with that. That's what I've been doing. I've basically been doing Arduino program this week. We're getting out the next flight of JevQs, and we have 5 or 6 or 8 back ordered.
Yes, yes. Anybody out there watching, we're
going to ship next week.
diligently.
We're working on it this week, and I just got off on another target of opportunity for the Arduino, which I'd like to get done this weekend. But we will have about 30 of them going out in the next couple of weeks. The 5.2 version, and that'll be our standard for some time. Paulo's working on the 6.0, which will be in the cinch connector, but that's 6 months or a year
That's a way
away.
off, yeah.
And so we'll see how that goes. We'll test it. We've had some problems with the new Connect One
Yeah, we had
wireless
to
board.
work with that for a long time, yes.
We got that worked out, and I've added some features, a reverse and a enable, which I checked on the UQM bench with the inverters we got from UQM instead of Coda.
Yeah.
Man, like a champ.
Ah, cool. Cool.
That's going to be a nice drivetrain
Yeah.
for one lucky green thing.
Yes.
What do we got going here, guys? Where's our transmission?
Actually, our transmission is shipping. It's done.
Is that right?
Yes.
When will it be here?
Hopefully next week.
Excellent.
I got everything off to them, got a check and everything off to them today. So the transmission is built, and talked to David Rancho. They're going to box it up and send out some new axles, too.
You guys are getting to be pretty good, I got to tell you. They have already installed the motor and inverter on the transmission, and it's not going to be here till next week.
Isn't that something?
I love it.
Isn't it pretty cool?
So you're going to mount the transmission to the motor, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
What do we got going on here?
Well, we got our little mount made for our inverter to sit on top of our UQM. We really didn't have much else place to put the inverter. Kind of running out of room. So we had a mount made.
It's a big inverter, isn't it?
It's
It's
quite big.
what,
And it's
17 by 16 by like 8 or 9 inches tall. Yeah, it's
The
big.
motor's nice and small,
Yeah. Yes.
but the inverter's normal.
and
Inverter's
it's
huge.
quite heavy as well.
How much does it weigh?
I think it was like 70 pounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a heavy inverter.
Huh.
Yeah.
So we've mounted it directly to the top of the transmission adapter plate for the UQM part, and then there's some bolts for mounting in the back of the UQM, and we've created a little bracket back there and just put a plate up there.
Cool.
So why is it in the car if we don't have a transmission?
Well, test fitting.
Just want to see if
Just
it,
further make sure that the thing fits.
after all our engineering.
You know, that's an interesting concept. A little dry fit. So does the door close?
Oh yes, this does.
Show me. Oh, you have to rock the motor forward.
Well, that's
Well,
just the
transmission
jacks kind of it wobbles, but this
So
is
we don't have to cut out the ass end of this one.
No, we don't need Hal to come and help us cut out the rear end. Yeah. Last time Hal was here was to cut on the yellow thing.
Yeah. And we have a little bit of Siemens motor peeking out.
We do.
They asked me if I had a wardrobe malfunction last week.
Yeah. Oh, did you?
Yeah. Little Janet Jackson thing going
See,
on there.
we don't look. We're guys. He's on his own.
So the other thing I struggle with is this. Now this has got a roof with the soft top. I can't even do that. I have to hold it up with one hand and reach in with the other one. You kind of indicated maybe you can make me well on that.
Yes, yes you can.
What do you got going on?
Well, we're going to kind of work in a strut from like a whatever type, newer vehicles, hood mounts and whatnot to keep this open.
Yeah, they're hatch doors and stuff.
Kind of nice. You just pop it loose and then it opens for you. And holds it up.
That would be real nice.
Yes, yes.
Very modern.
And it'll fit in here around this location. And then still close and everything. So
I can't wait to see it.
I can't wait to do it.
Well, let's haul that out and show me what you got with your mounting system on that inverter. Now that you know that it fits in the engine compartment.
Yes.
And, of course, we barely got an engine compartment. I guess you had trouble finding it because it's been painted black.
It's been painted black. Yeah,
it completely disappeared.
Yeah, we know we lost it for a couple of days.
But you knew it was in the back of the car somewhere.
We just we groped around till we fell in.
Good, good. Well, yeah, let's pull that out and have a look.
All right.
All right, what do we got here? What is this? About a 3/8" plate or a quarter?
Yes, sir. 3/8.
3/8, yes.
And we have found a couple of motor mount holes to put an L bracket here. And then let's see if we can turn this around without losing it. Then the plate secured to the front of our transmission bracket, leaving me a little space here.
Yeah.
To put on the transmission. Our motor cables come in here. Our battery cables will go in this side. And how's our, you know what somebody told me the other day, Brain?
What was that, Jack?
They said this should spin freely.
I think it does. Yeah,
I can't spin it freely. Remember when we had the thing on there? I couldn't spin it then either.
Yeah, it's spinning.
Yeah, about a half turn. And then it locks up. I want you to check with, take this apart and check with Lucian. We may be binding up there in those bearings.
Okay.
That should turn a full turn without any problems. Well, Jesse can turn it without any problems.
We got the flywheel back from Rimco this week, and the pressure plate balance. I'll pop it on and we'll dry fit that and see.
You can get it to turn.
Yep.
If you can't, you need to take it apart and figure out why.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get the flywheel and pressure plate back on there, and those have been balanced now.
They have. They've been balanced.
And well, this looks pretty good. These are stud holes. So yeah, it's a nice short motor, but a big inverter.
It's a big inverter.
And we're going to put one of our dual circuit kits that we developed after the yellow thing incident, A&8.
Yep.
And we found a heat exchanger that has two separate cooling circuits in it, so they don't have to share.
No, that'd be great.
I've noticed on the bench, this runs a little cooler than the DMOC, though.
Oh,
anyway.
really? Okay.
Well, this looks pretty good and pretty sturdy. And so on this one, we won't be hanging out the back of the car.
No.
And it should be a nice fit. I'm looking forward to driving this one.
This should be cool.
Stay with us.
Making electric boats isn't just making boats cleaner, it's making boats better. Being out in an electric boat means you can enjoy the environment you're in. You are so much more immersed in the sound and the experience of the aquatic life, of the water, of the wind,
than you would otherwise be. And it really gives you a new level of understanding and enjoyment of that generally beautiful nature area you've gone into to enjoy yourself. What an electric motor does is that it gives you all this power in a vibrationless, soundless way. A well thought out, well designed system has 100% of the torque available all the time. You don't have to build up to it, you have it. So when you pump the throttle, you are out there and your whole shot is amazing. It takes your center of gravity right out from under you, and it gives people that what they call the EV grin. You just start laughing, you can't help it. You're so conditioned to think that you first need vibration, then need noise, and then you start going somewhere. And in this case, your center of gravity just shoots right out from under you. And it's a wonderful feeling. You can still talk to each other. You're hearing the sound of the water and the wind and the waves instead of just hearing engine noise and vibrations. And it gives you really a chance to be in tune with that nature that you're actually out there to enjoy. Plus, not having to visit the pump is actually a great thing. Your battery will eat electricity from any source that you provide. I mean, who loves sitting around on your knees with a jerry can? We have better control over the boat. We have a better experience while we're out driving. Plus, we also have the knowledge that we're part of new technology. It is just way cool. Our mission is to make beautiful, fast, and fun electric boats. There's nothing more fun than taking these new technological developments and putting them into classic designs and having people shoot away with a big smile and an EV grin.
The Carmen Gia.
Yes.
The gift that keeps on giving.
It does.
I did manage to drive it briefly during EVCon.
Yes.
Fortunately, I survived it after swearing never to get in the nasty little mother again, which wouldn't steer. It had a buzz up its butt.
It did.
It was a train wreck.
Yes.
What are we doing to get better? What happened to the buzz? What did we find?
Well, Jesse found that the motor bolts for the adapter plate to the transmission weren't quite stitched down tightly. In fact,
how loose were they?
Well, one of them was pretty much all the way out. Another one was pretty loose on the top side, and then the bottom two were pretty snug still, but the top two were not so much.
So you can kind of turn them with your hand?
Yeah. Well, one of them you could just pull out.
the nut was missing in the washer.
So.
Well, there's that.
Yeah,
there's that.
Little
so
buzz.
what are we going to take from that? Bolt your motor and adapter to your transmission before departing.
Yeah, someone always has. Yeah, safety is always time for safety. Yeah, someone always has to be in charge of that on the checklist.
Should be in charge. Yes. Okay. And then the front end. What have we done there?
What haven't we done? The front end is just kind of a nightmare. When we replaced the ball joints before, we bought these new Chinese ball joints, and apparently when you press them in, they kind of cinch up and don't quite move. They don't quite work like ball joints. They just end up this giant stud sticking out.
Yeah, they're kind of studs.
Your control arm, and they don't flex anywhere.
And our alignment guy over at Clark, what's his name?
Oh, Snyder. We went over there. Ray. He pointed it out. In fact, he didn't align it that day.
He just told you to go get some more parts.
go get some German ball joints.
Okay, so we got German ball joints and a fresh Brazilian steering box.
We do. Yeah, TRW steering box. Yeah.
And we got all that in there. And is it getting any better?
Yes, it's getting better.
Speaking of aftermarket parts, what is the latest escapade?
Well, we were adjusting the brakes and
bleeding the brakes,
and so we decided to do a little bit of it manually. And Jesse, with his hand, was pushing this down, and kind of saying the brakes seemed a little squishy, and this went down to the floor, the brake pedal.
Let me see one of those hands. He ain't that big a boy.
No, it went down to the floor, and what we have now is a two-piece brake pedal assembly, which is kind of new to the Volkswagen world. This little whatever you want to call pin, is supposed to be spot welded nicely into there. There's a plunger that goes into the master cylinder sitting here, and it activates and creates the pressure. When this is missing, it doesn't quite activate anything.
Yeah, it
the
just kinda flops
plunger
back and forth.
just flops back and forth.
And so the concept here is if you step on the brake and it flops to the floor, if I was going 70, say, let's just say,
Yeah.
what would that mean?
Well, you'd need probably a quarter mile or a half a mile of run off.
Regenerative braking.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Before you stop. Maybe you could bring the parking brake into play at about 10 miles an hour.
You guys are scaring me with this car. Well, Jess, thanks for putting the arm to it.
I'm glad he broke it
discovering
now.
this
Yeah, I'm definitely
before.
glad it broke in the shop.
Yeah, good place for it to break is here.
What are our odds of now? Do we have Wolfsburg pedals and then Chinese pedals?
Well, we have apparently, and it's funny because when we bought the German ball joints, the German company Mele actually has the ball joints made for them. They're stamped German, but on the box it
They're
says
from China?
They're from, So there's a whole aftermarket thing going on. So we have today ordered from CB Performance, which has some pretty good parts, an OEM brake pedal assembly, which we don't necessarily know the provenance of OEM
We have no idea
anymore.
where that came from.
No.
But a second
Yes.
brake pedal.
Yeah.
Hopefully it comes from Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico. Yeah.
We'll put that one back together and put it in the back seat. And if I need a spare, then I'll have
You'll know where it is. That's right.
The saga continues.
It does.
The EV that never gives up.
That's right.
Or
EV Il Gia.
El Gia. My nemesis.
It is.
Gosh.
Stay with us. We've done on Apollo Byron. That's about it for this week. I would note that we have two almost identical drivetrains now. The Siemens is an AC induction motor, essentially 300 newton meters, 221 foot pounds.
Yes.
The UQM Powerphase is exactly the same.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
UQM Powerphase has a smaller motor and a larger inverter.
It does.
And the Siemens has a larger motor and a smaller inverter. And but we're going to carry the Siemens somewhat less expensively because of the sheer numbers of them we have. $3,495. There you see it this week until Friday noon. $2,195.
Yeah.
Come and get them.
What a deal.
And so that's our featured product of the week. This is our new product. This is in work.
Working on it, yes.
Again, part of the promise of the JFQ and this CAN bus stuff is access to OEM components.
Exactly.
In some cases, wrecked OEM components.
Yes.
Cars that are wrecked, but the components aren't. I mean, I would almost defy you to damage this thing in a car wreck.
Yeah. Yeah. Just from where it is and
Where it is and the way it's built.
The way it's built, yeah.
You might chew off a cable, gnaw off a connector, but that's about all you're going to be able to do. So I see these surviving. Wrecks becoming available, and EVTV is kind of committed to plowing the dirt to fix it where you can use them.
Yeah. Yep. Enable you to be able to have such cool stuff.
And I'm spending a lot of late nights on the computer trying to
I get a couple of 2 o'clock in the morning emails.
And we have a group of people
Yep.
Working on these things and all kind of committed because I think it's relatively clear what the future is going to be like for us, all of us as converters and, do-it-yourself people and prototypers. this is where you can get quality things for minimum due cuts, and but you have to be able to work them.
You have to work, yeah.
And so in a way, we're at odds with the OEM manufacturers that don't want us doing that.
No, exactly, yeah.
They want you to buy parts from them and not be recycling parts from wrecked cars.
No,
they want
right.
wrecked cars to go away and you buy a new car.
Go buy a new car, yeah.
And that's, I think, very short-sighted of them. As I've said, if somebody would actually come out with an open source car and let, it be hackable.
Yeah.
So what?
I mean, they all are ultimately. But
everyone's
just a
so
lot of
worried
work.
about that, and some of the articles about hacking into your car, people. I mean, it's just, it's so childishly naive and hopelessly hosed up, and they're talking about
Yes.
that.
Yes.
It starts to sound like magic. It's not, and the purpose really of hacking cars is getting where you can use your own car.
Yeah, right.
You get it to do what you want it to do.
Yeah.
Again, to be able to access inexpensive components from the detritus of cardom. Cars run into stuff. Cars run into each other. And we'll be there to pick up the pieces.
Boulders fall on cars all the time.
Boulders fall on cars. It's like Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, that's right, Acme.
The Acme kit, but the safe is always
That's right,
falling
it's always
on him
falling.
from the sky. And so that's where we're looking at for the future, and we're working quite diligently toward that. I like solar, and I like digging through the trash pile looking for pearls in the feces of swine.
That's right, little ponies.
And with all that horse shit, there's got to be a pony in
Be a
there
pony
somewhere.
in there
Pops.
somewhere.
And so that's what we're on about there. And Paulo and Kelso are a big help. And
guys, thanks.
Byron and Mark Weisheimer are tackling
Brian
Lear,
Coaching.
and we will identify other targets of opportunity as they come up, and hopefully some other people will jump on those.
Yep, help us out.
We do tend to communicate about those things on the forum at EVTV, and we now have an upload area.
Yes.
Where you can upload the files to EVTV. It is a password protected file area.
Well, there you go.
And you have to be able to guess what the password is.
Yes.
I'll give you this, it's a 4-letter password. And so it's not too hard to crack. But you have to have this 4-letter password to be able to get onto the EVTV upload area.
And can you have a couple of tries?
Several people have had to run through that a couple of times before they could
in
crack
the replies to the blog. It happens.
It happens. It's really about senior moments. Our viewership is not getting any younger, apparently. And
guys.
So take care puzzling through that. Colin Kidder will be happy to help you through some techniques of hacking if you just can't figure it out. The EVTV 4-letter password.
4-letter password, yes.
That's about all I've got, Brain. Anything you want to chat about?
No, I'm fine. I think we're good.
All right. We'll try to put it together again next week and make another one. Stay with us.
See you then.